A millionaire mother pretends to be a poor cleaning lady to find a suitable wife for her son, but what happened next will shock you. Mrs. Sandra stood in front of her son's towering company, clutching the worn application letter. She wasn't here for the salary, she was here to find a wife for her son among his employees. Taking a steady breath, she pushed the door open and walked into the sleek lobby, eyes scanning for her target. A smartly dressed young woman with a name tag reading Linda looked up from the reception desk. "Good afternoon, ma'am." "Looking for someone?" Linda asked politely. Sandra cleared her throat, forcing humility into her voice. "I'm here to apply for the cleaner job." Linda's smile softened. "Oh, wonderful. Let me have your application letter." Sandra handed it over, watching Linda's gentle hands and warm eyes. "This one has potential," she thought. "I'll take this straight to HR," Linda said kindly. "Please wait over there." Sandra nodded, lowering herself onto the waiting bench. But her mind wasn't on getting hired, she was already planning how to learn everything about this girl's. A moment later, a woman in sharp heels and too much perfume strode in, her eyes narrowing at Sandra on the front bench. The name on her tag read Sophia. "Who is this old, dirty woman sitting here?" Sophia demanded, her voice sharp and scornful. Sandra lifted her gaze calmly. "I came to apply for the cleaning job." Sophia curled her lip in disgust. "Well, you can't sit there. That's for special customers. Get up and move to the back seat." Sandra's fingers tightened on her faded purse. Without a word, she rose slowly and shuffled to the back, her steps quiet but steady. Sophia watched her with a sneer, then turned on her heel and strutted over to her working desk. She sat down with a huff, immediately tapping at her computer, dismissing Sandra from her thoughts entirely. Settling into the back seat, Sandra allowed herself a small, knowing smile. This one will be interesting to watch. Moments later, Sandra sat quietly in the back, watching the office hum with activity. The door to HR clicked shut, and Linda emerged holding a small stack of papers. She scanned the room until her eyes landed on Sandra. She walked over briskly, softening her expression. "Madam," she said gently, lowering her voice, "I've submitted your application. They'll review it and get back to you in a few days." Sandra nodded slowly, clutching her worn purse tighter. "Thank you, my dear." Linda gave a small, reassuring smile. "Please don't worry, just watch your phone. If they call, it means you got the job." Sandra dipped her head in gratitude, though inside her mind was racing. "A few days is all I need to learn who's worth my son." With that, Linda turned and hurried back to her desk, leaving Sandra sitting among the hum of ringing phones and clicking keyboards. Sandra's eyes narrowed slightly, already planning her next move in this careful game. Later that evening, Sandra stepped into their luxurious home, no longer the tired, old cleaner, but the confident mother of a millionaire. In the living room, her son Williams was waiting, already curious. "How did it go, Mom?" he asked, rising to meet her. Sandra sank into the armchair with a smirk. "Interesting, I met two ladies. One helped me kindly, the other treated me like dirt." Williams raised a brow. "Already?" She nodded. "A girl named Sophia told me to move to the back because I looked dirty." "That says a lot, but the real test hasn't started yet." He sat across from her, eyes locked. "So, what's next?" "We wait a few days," Sandra said, leaning forward. "Once they call, I'll officially start work. That's when I blend in and observe everything, how they treat others, how they talk when no one's watching. I want to see character, not charm." Williams chuckled. "You're really going undercover." She smiled. "This isn't just about finding a wife. It's about finding the right heart for you." He leaned back, impressed. "All right, Mom, let's do it your way." Sandra's eyes gleamed with purpose. Let the real test begin. A few weeks later, Sandra had officially started her cleaning job. She was on her knees scrubbing the glossy office floor when the door swung open and a tall, stylish woman in high heels strutted in. Her name tag read Esther. Esther wrinkled her nose at Sandra and snapped, "Hey, old woman. Take my bag and go put it on my desk." She tossed the expensive bag carelessly, not caring if it fell. Sandra caught it just in time, steadying herself on the mop. She looked up, eyes calm but watchful, saying nothing. Esther gave a dismissive wave of her manicured hand. "I'm going upstairs. I'll be back soon. Make sure you do it." Without waiting for a reply, she turned and climbed the staircase with exaggerated grace, heels clicking loudly. Sandra rose slowly, clutching the fancy bag. So quick to command without respect, she thought with a knowing smile, "I see exactly who you are." Not long after, the office door swung open again, this time with quiet authority. Williams, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, walked in. Conversations halted, chairs scraped back, and every staff member stood quickly to greet him. "Good morning, sir," they chorused, almost in unison. Sandra rose slowly from where she'd been wiping the floor, clutching her rag, and bowed her head slightly with the others. Her eyes flickered to her son's face, reading the calm power in his expression. Williams scanned the room, his gaze pausing deliberately on her. He offered a polite, almost knowing smile. "Good morning, madam. Hope you're enjoying your work so far." His voice was even, professional, but there was a glint in his eye only she caught. Sandra dabbed her brow with her sleeve and straightened. "Yes, sir," she said humbly. "It's very interesting work." A small smirk tugged at Williams's mouth before he nodded. "Good to hear. Carry on." He turned and strode confidently toward his glass-walled office at the end of the corridor. Staff exchanged quiet, respectful whispers as he passed. As soon as Williams disappeared into his office and the buzz of the workplace returned, Sophia's sharp voice cut through the air like a knife. "You, cleaner woman," she snapped from behind her desk. "Come here and clean this place fast. I can't work with dust flying around." Sandra calmly picked up her cleaning cloth and made her way over, moving with quiet grace. Sophia didn't even look at her as she continued typing. "And listen," she said coldly, "make sure you do your job well. We don't have time for lazy people here. One complaint, and you're out? I'll personally report you if I have to, do you understand?" Sandra kept her head low, gently wiping the desk as if the words didn't sting. "Yes, Ma," she replied quietly. "I won't misbehave." Sophia scoffed and flipped her hair. "Good, just stay in your place and do what you're paid for." As Sandra moved around the desk, dusting each corner with care, she gave no sign of offense. But inside, her thoughts were calm and sharp. Weeks had passed, and Sandra had settled into her role, silently observing everything. One afternoon, as she swept near the reception area, the glass doors opened and a stylish woman in heels stepped in. Her eyes instantly fell on Sandra. She froze. Her expression shifted from curiosity to full-blown shock. "Wait," the woman exclaimed, pointing directly at Sandra. "That's Mrs. Sandra, the mother of Williams, the millionaire. What in the world is she doing here cleaning?" She rushed to the desk, still keeping her eyes on Sandra as she sat. "No, this can't be. Why would the mother of the company's owner be mopping floors like a common cleaner?" Esther, seated nearby, rolled her eyes without even glancing up. "You must be mistaken," she said flatly. "She's just one of our cleaners. Started a few months ago. She's nobody important." The woman shook her head, still stunned. No. I've seen her at charity galas, fundraisers. That's definitely her." Meanwhile, Sandra kept her head down, sweeping the same spot gently, a quiet smile playing on her lips. After the staff finished attending to her, the woman gathered her documents with distracted fingers, eyes locked on Sandra the entire time. Hesitating only a moment, she marched across the shiny floor and stopped in front of her, voice wavering with disbelief. "Mrs. Sandra," she asked cautiously, "it's really you, isn't it? Williams's mother. What on earth are you doing here? Cleaning?" Sandra kept mopping slowly, her face calm. After a pause, she lifted her eyes just enough to meet the woman's. "I'm sorry, Ma," she said quietly. "You must be mistaken. I'm just a cleaner here." The woman's eyebrows shot up. No, I know you. We've met at those high-profile charity events. You can't fool me. Sandra shook her head gently, managing the softest of smiles. Truly, Ma, I'm no one important, just here to do my job. For a heartbeat, the woman stood frozen, mouth half open in stunned silence. She finally sighed, defeated, shaking her head in frustration. Fine, she muttered, backing away slowly, but this is very strange. She turned on her heel and strode out of the office, heels clicking sharply, casting one last bewildered glance over her shoulder before the door swung shut behind her. Sandra exhaled slowly, returning to her mopping with a knowing glint in her eye. Good, she thought, settling into the quiet hum of the office. Let them talk. The truth will unfold exactly when I'm ready. Days of work dragged by, each one testing Sandra's patience more than the last. When she finally got home one evening, she dropped her cleaning bag by the door and exhaled deeply. Williams was sitting in the living room, reading over some files. He looked up immediately, concern flashing across his face. Mom, you okay? Sandra trudged over, collapsing onto the sofa beside him. Her shoulders sagged, and for the first time, her eyes looked truly weary. Williams, she sighed, voice cracking a little. I don't know how much longer I can do this, the way they talk to me. The way they treat me like dirt. It's exhausting. I'm not sure I can keep pretending. Williams set the files aside and leaned in, placing a steady hand over hers. His gaze was firm but gentle. Mom, listen to me, he said softly. I know it's hard. I know they're being cruel. But this is the only way to see their real faces. I need you there. You're the only one I trust to tell me who's worth it and who isn't. Sandra's eyes filled, but she blinked the tears back. You really think it'll help you? She asked shakily. He squeezed her hand. I know it will. Williams frowned, then asked gently, Tell me, for now, which of these girls has shown good character? Sandra thought for a moment. Only Linda. She's the only one who's been kind and respectful. Williams nodded seriously. All right, keep your eyes on her, watch her carefully. Maybe she's the one we're looking for. Sandra managed a small, determined nod. I will. I'll pay close attention. Don't quit on me now. We're in this together. She drew a long breath, nodded slowly, and forced a small, determined smile. All right, son, she whispered, I'll keep going. For you? And the room fell into quiet understanding, the plan set more firmly than ever. Early one morning, the office hummed with quiet activity as staff settled in. Sandra wiped her hands on her apron and turned toward the door, ready to run the errand Mr. Williams had asked of her. But before she could take another step, Sophia's sharp, mocking voice rang out across the room. Hey, old woman, come here, I want to send you a message. Sandra paused and turned back calmly. I'm sorry, Ma. Mr. Williams asked me to run an errand for him right now. Sophia's eyes narrowed and she shot up from her chair, sending it scraping back with a harsh screech. Oh, forget that, she snapped, stomping over with her heels clicking like gunshots. You'll do what I tell you first. Sandra tried to explain again, her voice careful. Please, Ma, he told me to. But Sophia cut her off with a furious snarl. Don't you dare talk back to me, you disrespectful old woman. Her hand flew out suddenly, slapping Sandra hard across the cheek. The crack of it turned heads in the office. Sandra winced, hand trembling against her stinging face. Sophia loomed over her, eyes blazing. Know your place here. You're nothing but a cleaner. Sandra drew a steadying breath, eyes hardening. Linda hurried over, touching Sandra's arm gently. Please don't be angry, she whispered. I'm sorry for what happened. Sandra nodded stiffly, voice low. I'm fine. Thank you. Linda watched her walk away in silence, the tension hanging thick in the air. Williams sat in his office, flipping through a folder when a thought struck him. He opened his drawer sharply and froze. The envelope where he had kept $2,000 was torn open, empty. His expression darkened. Jaw tight. He shut the drawer with a controlled thud, no hesitation. He stood, adjusted his suit, and strode out of the office. With firm, quiet steps, he descended the stairs to the main floor, his eyes scanning the room as startled workers looked up from their desks. The atmosphere shifted instantly. "Good morning, everyone," he said, his voice calm but edged with steel. "I'm missing $2,000 from my office drawer." The room fell completely silent, no one moved. "I'm not accusing anyone yet," Williams added, eyes sweeping the room. "But I'm asking, did anyone see anything unusual, anything at all?" The silence was heavy until Esther cleared her throat, drawing everyone's attention. "Sir," she said smoothly, eyes narrowing, "I did see someone in your office this morning." Williams turned to her sharply. "Who was it?" Esther's gaze slid over to Sandra. "Her," she said firmly. "I saw her coming out of your office early." She looked suspicious. A ripple of gasps moved through the staff. Sandra's eyes went wide with shock. "That's a lie," she stammered, voice shaking. "I was cleaning the hall, I never went inside." Esther just smirked, arms folded across her chest. "I know what I saw." Williams held up a hand for silence, his expression hard. "Enough," he said evenly. "I'm not accusing anyone yet, but I will be checking the CCTV footage for more information." The staff fell quiet, stealing uneasy glances at one another as Williams turned and strode away, leaving a tense, heavy hush behind him. Williams sat alone in his office, eyes fixed on his laptop screen as the CCTV footage played. He leaned in closer, watching carefully. His heart sank when he saw Linda slipping quietly into his office, glancing around before opening the drawer and taking the cash. He closed the laptop slowly, anger and disappointment twisting in his chest. "Linda, the one we trusted." Just then, Sandra knocked gently and stepped inside. Williams looked up sharply. "Hope no one saw you coming in here." Sandra shook her head. No one did." He let out a heavy breath. "It's Linda. She's the one who stole the money." Sandra's eyes widened in shock as she slowly sank into the chair opposite him. "I really thought she was a good girl," Williams said bitterly. "Polite, respectful. I actually believed she might be the one." Sandra sighed deeply. Even the best mask can hide the worst intentions. They sat in tense silence, the weight of betrayal hanging thick between them. Sandra rose quietly, giving Williams a solemn nod before turning to leave. She closed the door softly behind her and walked back to her cleaning duties, face calm but eyes thoughtful. The office buzzed on, unaware of the heavy truth they now carried alone. A few weeks later, the company hired a new cleaner named Sarah. From her first day, she was polite, hard-working, and respectful. Sandra noticed her good behavior immediately and watched her with quiet hope. One afternoon, as Sandra walked past the staff lounge, she heard low, conspiratorial voices. "Honestly, I'm sure it was that old cleaner, Sandra, who stole from Mr. Williams's office." "Yeah, who else could it be? She's been acting so humble, but you can't trust her." Sandra froze in the hallway. Their words felt like knives in her back. Her eyes brimmed with tears as she turned and hurried away, slipping quietly into an empty supply room. She closed the door behind her and sat on an old crate, crying softly. Moments later, the door creaked open. Sarah stepped in and spotted her. "Ma," Sarah said gently, walking over and touching her shoulder, "don't listen to them. People always say hurtful things." Sandra wiped her tears and looked up at her. Sarah offered a kind smile. "I see how hard you work. Don't let them break you." Sandra managed a small, grateful nod. Sarah squeezed her hand. "We'll get through this together." Silence fell, but it was warm and comforting. As months passed, Sarah's kindness, humility, and hard work shone brightly. Williams watched quietly from afar, while Sandra observed every detail with careful eyes. Their respect for her deepened, turning into genuine affection. She treated everyone with dignity, even when others didn't. In time, Williams and Sandra shared knowing looks, their decision unspoken but certain. They had found the one they were looking for. At last, with quiet smiles and full hearts, they agreed. Sarah was the perfect choice to be Williams's wife. One morning, the office buzzed with its usual chatter, unaware that now the truth was about to be revealed. The glass doors swung open and in walked Williams, holding his mother Sandra's hand tightly. Conversations halted, heads snapped around in confusion. Esther, Sophia, and Linda stared, stunned. "What's going on?" Esther demanded, eyes narrowing in suspicion. Sophia frowned deeply. "Sir, why are you holding the cleaner's hand?" Williams stood tall, his voice ringing with quiet authority. He raised their joined hands for all to see. "This woman you've all mocked and mistreated. She's my mother." Gasps spread through the room like wildfire. "She's been helping me find true love. A woman with a kind heart. You all failed that test. You showed your true selves. You lost." His eyes locked coldly onto Linda. "And you," he said sharply, voice hard as steel. "You, who we trusted most, betrayed us. We watched you steal from my office on camera." The room fell silent, heavy with shame. Sandra stepped forward beside Williams, her voice calm but firm. "You all treated me like I was nothing," she said, eyes sweeping over the staff. "You mocked me, insulted me, and never cared to see the truth." The room was dead silent, everyone frozen in shock. But through it all, Sandra continued, her voice softening. "I was watching, and I've made my choice." She turned slightly, calling clearly, "Sarah, come in." Sarah stepped carefully into the room, eyes wide but steady. Gasps rose around them as the staff turned to stare at her in surprise. Sandra smiled proudly, taking Sarah's hand. "This is my son's wife," she declared. "The woman with the heart I've been looking for." The office remained silent, stunned faces reflecting the weight of her words. Sandra's smile faded as she turned back to the staff, her voice sharp. "For the way you treated me without kindness, without respect, you will all be sacked." Gasps filled the room. Esther, Sophia, and Linda immediately dropped to their knees, pleading. "Please, Ma," Linda cried. "We're sorry. We didn't know. Give us another chance," Sophia begged. But Sandra's expression didn't soften. Williams stood beside her, silent, his decision final. The news spread fast, and within days the toxic staff were replaced. Meanwhile, wedding plans began. Sarah, humble and overwhelmed, accepted Williams's proposal with tears in her eyes. Their wedding was beautiful, simple, elegant, filled with joy. Sandra beamed throughout the ceremony, proud and fulfilled. She had watched quietly, tested hearts, and in the end found the one who truly deserved her son. Williams and Sarah began their life together with love, peace, and unity. And Sandra, she smiled every day, knowing she had fulfilled her son's dream, not just to find a wife, but to find a woman with a beautiful heart. Treat everyone with kindness and respect, regardless of their status, because true character is revealed in how we treat those we think have nothing to offer. Appearances can deceive, but a good heart will always shine through.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support helps grow this community and brings more thrilling stories your way. Stay tuned. Another suspenseful tale is coming soon.